Good evening, I'm Graham Kennedy. John Mangos and I bring you the news coast to coast. John, is there any news fit to see on this Monday evening, the 13th day of March, 1989?
Graham, tonight, party time in Melbourne for the annual Moomba Day parade through the city. And the hotel hog who makes a pig of himself for a beer.
Very few of us left. Zon!
Graham.
Zon!
Graham, what I really need to know is how did you enjoy co-hosting Wide World of Sports on Saturday?
It was good fun, but it's a very long show. I mean, I've done telethons that were shorter than that shift I did on Saturday.
I gather you won't be doing it again.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. I mean, if they want to pay me the same hourly rate that I get for this show, I'll be there every weekend. I mean, you know, Ken Sutcliffe and Mark Warren and Craig Johnston discussed sports in one corner, and Lou Richards and I were over in another little corner discussing the various merits of all brand.
From the vast resources of the Nine Network's news-gathering facilities, here is the up-to-the-minute news of the day. In our newsroom, here's George Danikian.
Yes, Graham. John, a horror accident has claimed the lives of 6 people near Yass, south of Sydney. A semi-trailer loaded with sheet iron crashed into 3 cars on the busy Hume Highway. The driver of the truck survived, but all 6 people in the cars died.
It would appear as though the articulated vehicle has crossed the incorrect side of the roadway and collided with the 3 vehicles which were travelling in the opposite direction.
The accident caused the partial closure of the highway for more than 4 hours. Police are hoping to get more information from the truck driver who was taken to the Goulburn Base Hospital suffering minor injuries. The names of the dead have not yet been released. Accusations tonight in the wake of Queensland's biggest ever jailbreak. A former Queensland policeman says he warned almost a fortnight ago that 6 of the state's most dangerous criminals were planning Saturday's mass escape from Boggo Road Jail. Speaking on a current affair, Bill Rapp said he had told members of the police force and the prison system about the rumours. But that's been denied by the government.
I know that those people in the prisons department had the information. Now, if they can't find that out, there is a dirty, stinking rat somewhere in the prisons department, but it's quite evident that someone is withholding information from you.
Well, that may be true, but it's not evident to me until I complete my investigation.
2 Americans are in custody in Sydney tonight over Australia's biggest seizure of the designer drug ecstasy. Police are continuing their investigations and expect to make more arrests.
A customs search revealed $6 million worth of the pills hidden inside body panels of an imported Jaguar sports car. 2 unemployed Californians were later arrested after the vehicle was picked up at a Sydney container terminal. One allegedly said he was being paid just $5,000 for his part in the operation. Angry scenes in Adelaide after an ambulance service administrator allegedly knocked over one of several picketers outside the St John Brigade headquarters.
That's assault! Get out! Leave him alone. That's assault battery! No! Get the police!
When help from another station arrived, there was more argument over whether it could cross the picket lines. The injured man did eventually get to hospital, where he's tonight said to be in a satisfactory condition. And the man who used to make the rules as Queensland's racing minister has been fined $400 for breaking them. Russ Hinds said it was an honest mistake that led to an unlicensed strapper riding track work on the Gold Coast. He says he won't appeal. Mary Ruth Monsor for Graham Kennedy, Coast to Coast.
Finally, an Australian woman tourist has been rescued off the Philippines after spending 3 days clinging to her capsized boat. 22-year-old Turnia Michelle Hamilton from Sydney partly owes her life to the superstitions of her rescuers. A group of fishermen rushing to her aid thought she was a mermaid. That's the latest from the newsroom. I'll be back with more a little later in the show.
Fortunately, it was cool in Melbourne today. But the year I was King of Moomba, it was very hot. And I promise you, there's nothing quite like wearing an ermine robe and a crown for 2 hours.
When it's 39 degrees in the city.
And 58 degrees in your armpits.
Graham, Melbourne certainly does a great job with those parades.
Oh, yes, it's a sort of hetero Mardi Gras, isn't it?
If there was any doubt in Moomba's musical theme, it was put to rest even before the procession rolled off. Only here could one witness the extraordinary sight of a drum dressing a cello. It's a day when seemingly normal people do the most abnormal things. Aboard the floats, the only concern was to last-minute detail, but there was also concern at what was beneath them. A quick examination by police rendered 15 of the entrants unroadworthy, citing problems like a distinct lack of brakes to unsafe trailer hitchings. Running repairs ensured that all lined up to parade. Unaware of the confusion at the starting gate, anxious fun seekers arrived early to gain vantage points for the event that promised something for the young.
What are you most looking forward to seeing today?
Cut the fruit out.
And the young at heart.
Like the bands.
King Con didn't disappoint his loyal subjects, cutting the ribbon to set Moomba's most magical moment into action.
Let's have a beautiful Moomba together.
In its truest tradition, Melbourne's biggest day set Swanston Street ablaze with colour. Its melodious theme brought us music from abroad and from a bike. Regardless of the criticism levelled at the festival, Moomba's coup de grace didn't fail to hold sway with the thousands that lined the procession route. It still contained a glimpse of the past and a taste of the future. The shortened procession, naturally with plenty of music and plenty of dancing, kept the crowd to the very last. And that other Labor Day spectacle, Swanston Street as a literal sea of bodies.
Like a tidal wave, it made its way here to the Alexandra Gardens, where Moomba continued to weave its musical magic.
For the buffs, there was ballet, there was busking, bush music,
Here we go, it's gonna hit like a duck.
and a combination of both. Gavin McDougall, Graham Kennedy, Coast to Coast.
Now, you see, you're the perfect person to ask. Did you like the idea that Con the Fruiter, not Mark Mitchell, do you enjoy the idea that Con the Fruiter is king of Moomba?
I personally don't. I must say that I sympathise with the Greek community. I think Mark Mitchell is fantastic. I'd like to have seen Mark Mitchell as king of Moomba.
Me too.
But not Con the Fruiterer. But I think Con the Fruiterer is a very funny man.
He wasn't on last night, his wife was on last night. But John, how would your, say, mum and dad react to Con the Fruiterer being king of Moomba?
Same way, they loved Con the Fruiterer, but they didn't... Giving him king of Moomba tended to sort of elevate his status, and they weren't crazy about it.
Gotcha.
But what's your view on the argument about the Moomba Parade having a fictitious comic character as king?
Oh, I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, Queensland was led by Sir Joe for all those years.
Graham, I read today that the Chinese are getting ready to launch their first man into space.
Yeah.
And they're using a different launching method to the Yanks.
Yes, 3 million Chinese and a very large blanket. Down they go. Oh, there's a nip in the air. No, they don't. Who said there's no culture in Tasmania?
Now, this is a true story from Tasmania about Tasmanians and a Tassie pig.
John, you came all the way back from the frozen north and the stranded whales to do a story about an inbred pig. What a career move, John.
They call it Pub in the Paddock. Nestled in lush Pyangana on Tasmania's east coast, life goes on without a murmur until the locals come home to roost. Jean-Marie, the Frenchman, is part of the untapped talent around these parts. When the folks at Pyangana drain their watering hole, a good time is had by all. On these 2 regular occasions, the intoxicating air wafts through the paddock, enveloping the pub's thirstiest snort.
You're right then,
Meet Grog, an animal when it comes to guzzling what all North Tassie guzzlers drink. Bogues.
Ready, Fitz?
Grog.
I love to have a beer with Duncan. I love to have a beer with Duncan. We drink in moderation.
Now, don't make a pig of yourself, right?
And we never, ever, ever get rolling drunk.
I've been drinking Bogues most of my life and that hasn't hurt me.
We drink at the Bell, where the atmosphere is great.
Does he ever get hangovers?
No, he's drunk all the time.
I love to have a beer with Duncan.
I think he's an alcoholic.
'Cause Duncan's me mate, yeah.
I think that little piggy was the same little piggy that went wee, 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 wee all the way home. Don't you think that? I think it was that little pig. Who's sorry now? Oh, yes, let's hear it. Who's sorry now?
Graham, did you?
I'm sorry.
Oh, that close.
Oh, there you go.
Did you know that a Mexican restaurant in Darlinghurst serves food and drinks by waitresses wearing only lingerie?
Really?
Yep, and I wonder if the customers hang around after lunch to chat up the waitresses.
I wouldn't think so, John, because it's a Mexican restaurant. I know about Mexican food. I would think they'd just eat and run. I don't know.
Would you like your octopus, sir?
Absolutely delicious.
Absolutely scrummy, is it?
Yes, I think I've got the best legs in the restaurant.
I don't know about that.
And it's not only Peter who appreciates the odd fishnet stocking with his lunch.
Well, mostly businessmen, lawyers, solicitors, everybody in the high-pressure zone sort of job. And, you know, they come in, they relax, and they have a good time, and they forget about the business.
Jason Newey, manager of Viva Mexico, home of the lingerie lunch. The restaurant has been open for only 6 weeks, but it's perhaps not surprising to learn it's been booked out every day.
Think I better dance now.
While every table has a view, you certainly pay for it. It's top dollar for fairly average food, but no one seems to care.
If the food is reasonable and you can enjoy yourself, then it really doesn't matter as long as the prices aren't exorbitant.
The girls move about the tables in style, but their unusual uniform can create some problems.
Walking past some of the chairs and getting your suspender belt and everything sort of hitched up here and having your hands full of plates and not, you know, being able to move and just sort of looking around and having all the guys sort of looking at you.
Either way, if the job appeals to you, no experience is necessary. But as you can see, a sense of humour is essential.
We can train them how to serve the gentlemen, how to pour wines. It's just if they've got the personality and that they realise that it's a fun job and they want to do it.
But what would your parents think?
My dad doesn't know yet, but
Well, this is a nice surprise, isn't it?
Happy birthday, Daddy.
Sam's father may also be a little shocked to catch her serving a dessert called the Temptation, which, incidentally, Peter just couldn't resist.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. What about you? Did you make this yourself? You're doing very well with that, Dad. But you mean I've got comfortable knees?
Yeah.
Terrific.
I could sit here for a while, actually. I think a few of the mums out there should take a leaf out of their books and serve Dad the chops dressed up in something a little bit flimsy. Might add some spice to their sex life.
I'll be coming back, put it that way.
Apparently the waitresses get great tips.
Well, yes, they have. The customers are always complaining, there's a fly button in my soup, they keep saying. Truly. It's not funny, but if you're sitting in the restaurant, it's very funny. Say, oh, look, they don't say there's a fly in my soup. They say there's a fly button in my soup. Golly, oh, boy. Oh, no, I do like a good laugh.
I enjoyed it. I loved it. In fact, it's not unusual having sex, women and music to sell your product on Go back, Gail.
Oh.
No, see, I knew this would happen on my first night. It's not unusual having
Don't forget, it's only a television show.
Oh, thank God for that. I thought my whole future rested on it.
No, no, no. It's only I mean, in the world that we're living in now, with famine and disease and polluted beaches and filth and muck and scum and stinking rotten, this is only a television show.
Oh, that's all right then.
Try and get it right.
It's not unusual having sex, women and music to sell your product on the television.
Right.
But it seems bizarre when it's all rolled into one.
Yeah.
To promote rugby league.
I'm with you.
And stars a woman old enough to be the mother of just about everyone playing the game.
Oh, good.
That's not bad, you know. More than 50 years old and still a sex symbol.
Oh, thanks for the compliment, John. There's no need to grovel. You've got the job.
Those who missed Ken Sutcliffe's star in Wide World of Sports last weekend would also have missed his special co-host. Now, someone in this studio did some moonlighting on Saturday.
Who?
Swapping his comedy crown to become king of sports.
Oh, me.
Graham, thank you very much for turning up. Purely a coincidence to have a two-dog race.
A two-dog race, our first item.
Round through the tunnel and over the rails. Don't go up the ramp. No, no!
What if they sewed up the end of that big bag that they went through?
Oh, yes, and it hit his face at 60 miles an hour. Bang! It made me think that's funny.
And there's the jerk, and there's the spaghetti hole, and he holds it, yes! Look at him looking for the lights!
So I must address something to Mr. Kennedy while I'm here. I've been told he's very good at the bar and sometimes surrounded by a lot of dumbbells.
Leave us alone. Who's that?
He's funny, that fellow.
That's terrible.
Funny, no stars.
Graham, all I can say is thank God you retired before I got into this job. Otherwise, I would never have achieved all this.
Isn't he wonderful? He sounds so different to what he sounds on the radio, too. He's remarkable.
That's different.
He used to write for the Prime Minister and everything. He's well known in England, too. No, I love him. Teddy, what on earth was that? Don't do that without telling me.
That is half-time.
Oh, he nearly had a stroke. Oh, here we're winding up. Ken, I want to thank you. Yeah. No, it's been very nice. We've got 3 hours to go.
We've got 3 hours.
What do you mean? 3 hours?
3 hours.
Oh, exactly. You want to get onto yourself. It's all fake. I've read that. Oh, shit.
Shot from the floor into the throat, and that's it.
I'd better be off anyway, Ken. Thanks a lot. I've enjoyed these couple of days together with you, but I must go. I mean, it's pleasant. I can't understand why you'd give away 5 nights of classy stuff for this. It was very nice working with 2 dogs again after such a long time. We hadn't worked together for nearly 14 hours. And do you realise the program's got very strict standards? I had to have a urine test before I went in. Old habits die hard with those sporting commentators who have been former footballers. After the show, I found Lou Richards and Ken Sutcliffe having a shower together. I thought there might have been at least a drink after the show, but all I got was half a lemon to suck. And not a very attractive half a lemon either.
Still to come, Susan Renouf explains the secret of her beauty success, a cream that vanishes wrinkles and husbands. And the boys on Bathurst Island turn it on for their day of days, all ahead on Graham Kennedy Coast to Coast. Neil Sedaka was born on this day in 1939. The American singer-songwriter attended the famous Juilliard School of Music in New York and won fame in the late 50s with a series of rock and roll classics such as Stupid Cupid, Calendar Girl and Oh Carol. Later hits include The Hungry Years and also Love Will Keep Us Together, recorded by the Captain and Tennille. He still tours Europe and America as a cabaret singer, proving that old rock and rollers never die, they just get more expensive suits. On this day in 1959, Tibetans revolted against the imposition of Chinese rule over their homeland, often called the roof of the world. The revolt was crushed and the Dalai Lama, with many of his followers, fled to India, where he remains to this day. On this day in 1985, the federal government agreed to pay the Multijulu tribe $100,000 a year for a 99-year lease of Ayers Rock, or Uluru as it's known. What isn't known is whether the lease covered pets, repairs or the throwing of wild parties. Chloroform was first used to ease the pain of childbirth on this day in 1847. Many conservatives opposed its use because of the biblical curse on Eve, that she should bring forth in pain and suffering. But the idea caught on nevertheless. The first chloroform baby was christened Anastasia. Large and lumpy eastern suburb socialite Joe Bugner was born in Hungary on this day in 1950. His family moved to England when Joe was 7, and he went on to become British, Commonwealth and European heavyweight champion at age 21 when he defeated Henry Cooper.
They say there are two things you can't stop, death and taxes. But perhaps that now should be four things, death, taxes, wrinkles and Susan Renouf.
Susan Rossiter Peacock Sangster Renouf, a woman who's suffered more marital disharmony than practically any other woman in Australia. And it's all been so public.
I have no food, I have no provisions, I have nothing.
How has she saved face after all of this? Possibly by using Juvena's biological facelift. Here it is in a lovely gold box in an impressive black cylinder. It might be new, but it's making the same old claims. Reduces wrinkles, makes skin firmer. Well, it will certainly make your wallet lighter. $95 and it will last just 3 weeks. Sceptical? Maybe. But Lady Renouf is putting her weight behind it.
I began using biological facelift about 3 weeks ago, and I noticed immediately a smoothing effect of my skin.
Lady Renouf was the guest speaker at Juvena's launch today. The setting was appropriate. The Sydney Opera House, definitely in need of a facelift.
One just has to put biological facelift on the fingertips of one's hand in one's room, and presto, you're in your own home and you're having a wonderful beauty treatment.
It seems that annually there's a new wrinkle cream on the market. Last year it was Retin A, a treatment used specifically for acne, until the people who used it found that more than their pimples were disappearing.
I'd like you to put on just a thin smear in the evening when you get home.
Last year Margaret King agreed to test Retin A on her wrinkles.
Let's give it a go, see what happens.
Fine, if I could just get you to look directly ahead like you are for a moment, thank you.
Margaret was photographed before she started using the product, and then 3 months later. Dermatologist Dr. Alan Cooper supervised the trial, and the result?
The fine wrinkles have definitely improved. These are the ones that were caused by the sun. There are less of them.
So would you say that Retin A works?
Definitely works.
We decided to visit Margaret again. It's now been 8 months, and she's still smearing Retin A over her face every day.
Well, the dark spots that I had on my forehead in this corner here, I still have a few marks, and you can see that they're there, but they were the colour of those on my hand.
Do you feel as if you're looking younger?
People will say, oh, she's just vain if she says yes, but I will say yes.
And remember, Retin A costs $10. Juvena's product is $95.
Well, it's a lot of money for 30 mils of cream.
Dr. Cooper, our dermatologist, was also concerned about the implications of its name.
A surgical facelift is a major operation, and it really has major effects in helping people's appearance. I'd be surprised if this can match in any way the effects of a surgical facelift.
Yet this is what happens at a Juvena sales counter.
Is it like a facelift?
Yes, it definitely is like a facelift. Unlike surgery, you know, it's very drastic. This is the other alternative, and it really does help you.
But for $95, Lady Renouf thinks it's great value.
Well, it's cheaper than a trip to Europe, isn't it, to go to a Swiss clinic and have implants or have a surgeon's knife over there. I think it's very reasonable for having it at your fingertips. Don't have to fly anywhere, it's just there on your bathroom table.
And no scars.
No scars, exactly.
Updating tonight's news, and police believe a tragic road accident in New South Wales tonight occurred when a semi-trailer crossed onto the wrong side of the Hume Highway, smashing into 3 oncoming cars. All 6 people in the cars died. The only survivor of the accident near the town of Yass was a truck driver who suffered minor injuries. Investigations are underway into a mine collapse in the northwest Queensland town of Mount Isa, which claimed the life of a 38-year-old miner. It was originally feared that others may have been trapped underground, but all other workers were later accounted for. And the Queensland government tonight denied accusations that it had warning of the state's biggest ever jailbreak. Speaking on a current affair, former policeman Bill Rapp claimed he knew about plans for Saturday's events 2 weeks before they happened. He said he told police and others that 6 of the state's most dangerous criminals were organising the mass escape, but no action was taken. That's all from the newsroom. Now it's back to the studio.
George Danikian bringing us up to date. It was up there Kazali in the far north of Australia over the weekend for one of the biggest events in the area's sporting calendar, the annual Bathurst Island Football Grand Final.
From early morning they came across the seas from neighbouring Melville Island. Players, wives and girlfriends all decked out in team colours for a big day at the footy. Some hadn't made up their minds which team to follow, so stayed neutral. Football's more than a religion for the Tiwi people. Even so, Sunday Mass is pretty important, especially when the sermon turns into a match preview.
On the grand final day, we talk about sport and team efforts. St Paul was a great team man.
Hours before the match, the 1,600 inhabitants of Bathurst Island head up the highway to the Oval. Most walk from home. Some are lucky to get a lift, while the players get the royal treatment in their open-air team bus. The Imaloo Tigers and the Richmond Strip are favourites, despite the fact they haven't won a final in 9 seasons. For self-proclaimed mascot Tiger, today will be different.
I'm a Tiger! Woo!
Just as confident are Terrakumbi, the boys from Miller Carpety and the Collingwood Strip, getting plenty of support from their fans, and it's one on, all on. It's desperation-style footy. Early on, the Tigers are looking good and booting some remarkable goals. Dogs are more than welcome. There's no better place to see the action than from right in the middle. And the fans are seeing a great match. Rain doesn't worry the players, even those preferring bare feet, and it has no effect on the style of play. If you're small enough, jump into an empty carton to keep dry. Meanwhile, back on the paddock, the Tigers are racking up more points as they show the Melbourne Cricket Ground isn't the only place where spectacular goals are scored. The Tiger selectors reckon they've done a good job so far, and by half-time they're 6 goals up. The black and whites are starting to get the wobbles. And frustrations are creeping into play as Mr Football himself, Ted Whitten, keeps a close watch on proceedings. At the break, kids want to be part of the action, but Dad has more important things on his mind. Terrakumbi is a long way behind at the last break. The coach calls for one last mighty effort. While at the Imaloo huddle, Tiger is keeping his eye on proceedings. It's an exciting last quarter, and too much for commentator Walter Tippenwitty, who breaks into the Tiwi language. Terrakumbi try their best, but the brilliant Tigers have them by the tail. By the time the final siren sounds, Imaloo are 6 goals clear and the premiers. It's celebrations all round. The coach gets the obligatory shoulder hoist, and it's better than a win in the VFL Grand Final. The players are over the moon.
It's really wonderful to come back and win by a comfortable margin.
Greatest day in your life?
Oh, yeah. It's always, grand final is always the greatest day.
Sportsmanship plays a big part of the Tiwi lifestyle. Losing coach Bugsy Heenan typifies that spirit.
I just want to thank Chris and his boys for a very good game on behalf of Miller Carpety.
For our man Tiger, it's the end of a big day, but time for one last dance.
I'm a Tiger!
For others, the excitement is just all too much, and after all, it'll be on again next year. Nick Hedger, Graham Kennedy, Coast to Coast.
Zon. We haven't done phone calls for so long, they're starting to build up, so we've had to condense, we've had to précis a list that's been going on since Tuesday last week, I think. A Yagoona lass wishes Coast to Coast would never end at night. Doesn't matter how depressed and suicidal she is feeling, she can always sit down to watch Graham and get a laugh. That's a coincidence, so can I. Now, a group of Melbourne people would like to know if John's father runs a liquor store in Chapel Street, Windsor.
Con?
Yes.
My dad Con?
Does he?
No.
Right.
No, that's an uncle. Same name, but sold the store, so we didn't even get a free plug
What
out of
a
it.
pity. A married couple at Devon Meadows, don't know where that is, would like Graham to know that he's ruining their sex life. They are addicted to the show. Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with having a Donald while you're watching. It's just, you must stop for the commercials. The girls at Russell Street Police Station think John Mangos is very arrestable and they wouldn't mind frisking him. But they can only find a spare cell for Graham. Graham, could you ask residents of Walsh... This is a sad one, I don't understand it. Graham, could you ask residents of Walsh Street, South Yarra, not to remove the plaque in memory of the 2 constables? That must be a local story that I'm not up on. Graham, could you tell us about the movie Stanley? Yes, it was shit-ass. Two regular viewers who, like Graham, were disgusted by his remarks about spaghetti being sent to Ethiopia. I was too. I was appalled. As the words were coming out of the bouche, that's French for mouth, I thought, Graham, you are appalling. However, I'm still here. A lady from Seaforth would like to know if Graham was ever married to Di Fisher. No, Di Fisher is another of the women I haven't married. A Sydney viewer wants to know why Graham keeps licking his lips. I don't know. It's a thing. It's been going on all my life. I do lick my lips. In fact, the very first review I had in this business was not in a show business magazine. It was in a book of lizards.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have arrived...
The phones are ringing, by the way. You can't believe what they're saying tonight.
Oh, I've got a fair...
Welcome, John, they're saying. Who is that handsome hunk? I say, that's me. The Greek one's John. Zon. I'm sorry, Zon. I interrupted.
That's all right. I was just about to say that the Prince and Princess of Wales have arrived in Kuwait
amid the continuing controversy over... So, no, I've got it here.
So I say controversy.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter.
Over Salman Rushdie's satanic verses.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how customs vary between countries? I mean, in Kuwait, for example, if schoolboys want to read Rushdie's book, they have to hide it inside a copy of Playboy. Those Arabs are very clever people, John, as you probably know. They recently tried... Oh, I'm laughing already. Well, I believe... Well, where you're... it doesn't matter. But I would say it's closer than Melbourne. But you're from Melbourne.
That's right.
So I don't know what I'm talking about. The Arabs are very clever. They recently tried crossing, and it worked, a camel with a cow.
What did they get?
Lumpy milkshake. I think that... Oh, yes. You're watching Coast to Coast. All over the 7 network. Make it 7.
Japanese martial arts...
no, sorry.
Excuse me.
I was doing I'm terribly sorry, Zun.
Yes, great.
But I was doing a little survey with our studio audience, and I said, how many watched The Comedy Company last night? And they put their hands... Some people put their hands up. And I said, how many watched 60 Minutes last night? You should have seen the result. Go on.
Japanese martial arts have always been a...
Well, I'm not saying. I'll get into trouble if I say.
And so will I if I entice you to say
yes,
something.
No enticing, son.
No, well...
Just read the thing, son.
Japanese martial arts have always been popular as a form of self-defense, but now the ninja are jumping out of nowhere, spinning their famous star knives and being very popular at parties.
Go back into history, the feudal Japan, ninjas are what we would term the invisible fighters. Their task, of course, is to fight the samurais in Japan.
Looking at grown men playing ninjas makes you wonder whether they're the full packet of noodles. But these modern-day warriors are deadly earnest. Just ask their trainer, John Ang.
They can be anything today in the modern day world. They can be hired assassins, they can be bodyguards, they can be anything.
Are you training them to be killers?
No, certainly not, you know. But I'm saying they have the potential to be one if they choose to.
John Ang's ninjas train up to 12 hours a day, every day, in his city gym. They may look fierce indoors, but every now and then they go on field trips to really get a feeling for what ninjaing is all about.
That is really, very, very tough. Our art is a combat art. It is a fighting art. And we are tough. We are supposed to be the best. We are the toughest.
And like all true ninjas, they mostly wear masks to conceal their identity.
You train to kill? The abilities that we have are for this purpose, but whether we use them or not for this is a different matter.
I'd rather kill someone than be killed.
You could call it a bit of a fantasy, but I don't think so. It's just plain hard training.
How did you pick the men you've got training to become ninjas?
They are handpicked, and they are really the best in terms of their physical prowess. They are the best in terms of their mental ability.
I don't know whether Shintaro would approve of the fighting, but no doubt he'd approve of the motives. Why did you want to become a ninja?
Well, mainly for the mental and physical discipline of it.
Self-confidence, be able to protect my loved ones.
I enjoy the training, the learning of the techniques, etc. I also think of myself as more of a historian.
And of course, one side effect of becoming a ninja is that all your friends see you in a new light.
They invite me to come over, especially if they're going out in the town and in the nightclubs or at the pubs. So I suppose they feel more secure when I'm around, especially when they're on the streets.
You're good protection.
Yeah.
Riveting. You remember reading in the Bible where Jesus drove the moneylenders out of the temple? Well, they're back again, only now they're called bank managers.
After a day of very light trading, the Australian share market registered a marginal rise of 1.5 points. The Nikkei Dow fell substantially, but the FT100 in contrast rose by almost 10 points. The Australian dollar is trading at 82.15 US cents, and the price of gold is steady.
And now the weather. As the rose-petal pink clouds gather on the silver-grey mists, wait till I get to the part. It's hard on the voice tonight. Gail, as the rose-petal pink clouds... This is the weather. As the rose-petal pink clouds gather on the silver-grey mists surrounding the gentle rolling foothills, and the birds gently sing their evensong, I can tell you quite unequivocally that it'll probably piss down again tomorrow.
Townsville showers and 31, Brisbane fine 28, Sydney rain 25, Canberra also rainy 22, Melbourne 22 and showers, Hobart showers and 17, Adelaide 19, rain, Perth fine and 30, Darwin a windy 31, Alice Springs stormy 28.
No, I'm really terrific. Nothing to be ashamed of there.
Oh,
Don't worry.
What are we talking about?
Your career. Oh, righto, son. Thank you. I've been handed a late item.
I've seen this happen.
Have you seen this happen? Mm-hmm. It's not all that pleasant. Has this been checked?
Yes.
How many sauces? Oh, that goes right through me when they did that. Name it.
Hoi Sin.
As in, you'd be happier in a Hoy Sin-Berman theatre. Yes. I'm old enough to remember that. A Melbourne man who walked into a leading furrier's shop late on Friday, accompanied by an attractive blonde woman, purchased a $20,000 mink coat, paid for it by cheque, and said he'd pick the coat up on Monday when the cheque was cleared. The man was informed by the furrier early today that his cheque had bounced. The man said, "I knew it would, but thanks for a terrific weekend." Kali Nikta. Kali Nikta.
Good night. Good.